Will the October 2nd, 2013 meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission please come to order? Thank you all for your attendance this evening. For the benefit of those present who may not have participated in a P&Z meeting, I will review our public hearing procedure, which is as follows. We will read the legal notice for the public hearing portion of this meeting as published in the local newspaper. The applicants will then be invited to come forward and present their case, explaining to the commission and the public what is specifically being requested of the subject property. Written comments from town agencies pertaining to the application will then be read into the record if the commission has received any. The commissioners will then ask their clarifying questions, and then the public will be invited to ask any questions they have about the application. I will then ask those in attendance who support the application to please come forward and make their statements, and then I will ask those who oppose the application to please come forward and make their statements regarding the application. As this is a public hearing, it will be necessary for those coming forward to ask questions or to speak for or against any application to please identify themselves and state their name and address for the record prior to proceeding. At the conclusion of all the statements to the public and the applicant, I will close the public hearing on the application. The applicant and the public are then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearings and the regular meeting, at which time the commission will discuss each application under consideration and try to reach a decision. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decisions of this commission. The applicant and/or any aggrieved party with legal standing will have the right to appeal this decision to Superior Court within the statutory time frame if they so desire. All decisions reached at this meeting will be available to the public the next day by either visiting or calling the Planning and Zoning Office after 9:30 a.m. Seated this evening are the following Guilford Planning and Zoning Commissioners: David Grigsby, Walter Corbiere, I'm Ray Bauer, Tom Klost, Peter Golitz, Josh Hirschman, Frank DeAndrea, and town staff present this evening are George Kral, the town planner, Reggie Reed, zoning enforcement officer. Our recording secretary is Katie, and our videographer is Shannon Gale. Will the secretary please read the legal notice?
Legal notice, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on October 2nd, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, Monunketuck Room, 2nd floor, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, for the following purposes. Number 1, amendment to 273-245 to add G, farmers markets. G, established farms may sponsor, quote, farmers markets, end quote. The market will be held on the sponsoring farm's property. There must be off-street parking of 3 spaces per vendor. Vendors' vehicles are to be included in required parking spaces. The market will have specific hours of operation totaling no more than 5 hours per week to include setup and breakdown times. No markets to be open after 7 p.m. Number 2, Takahashi Sharp, property located at 69 Andrews Road, map 12, lot 76A, zone R5. Coastal area management site plan to put wooden deck over an existing seawall and adjacent upland. Section 273-91. Number 3, Russell Cooper, property located at 350 Weatherly Trail, map 109, lot 3-25, zone R8. Special permit for structure over 750 square feet. Number 4, Town of Guilford, Guilford Public Schools, property located at 101 Hubbard Road, map 79, lot 9-2B, zone R5. Special permit to allow removal of 2,000-gallon fuel tank and canopy and installation of 10,000-gallon above-ground tank with new canopy within groundwater protection district. Section 273-92D4. Number 5, Deborah Weedy, property located at 116 Seaside Avenue, map 24, lot 4, zone R3, coastal area management site plan approval to replace an existing shed within 100 feet of critical coastal resource. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 12th day of September. Is this correct?
12th day of September. Yes.
12th day of September 2013. Ray Bauer, Chairman.
Thanks very much, Walter. Before we get started, there have been a few minor changes in the agenda. First of all, the Town of Guilford Public Schools, this is property located at 101 Hubbard Road. Special permit to allow the removal of 2,000-gallon fuel tank, etc. That application has been withdrawn, so that will not be going forward tonight. In addition, the Deborah Weedy applications is property located at 116 Seaside Avenue. It's a CAM site plan approval to replace an existing shed. They still need a variance on that, so we received a request to table this until November 6th. While we're at it, if I can get a motion to table the application until November 6th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that one is tabled. Okay, having said that, we'll get started right now with the public hearings. First one is Takahashi Sharp. This is property located at 69 Andrews Road, coastal area management site plan to put a wooden deck over an existing seawall and adjacent upland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Thomas A. Stevens. I'm a principal of the firm of Thomas A. Stevens and Associates at 141 Durham Road, Madison. I have two handouts. One is a reduced copy of the overall plan, and one is a blown-up portion of a specific area that we're going to discuss. This is before the commission July 3rd. Coastal site plan approved at that time, and we slightly amended the application, which is why we're here this evening to pass those issues. Yellow and yellow. The property is owned by Dean Takahashi and Wendy Sharp. Greater Advanced has done the architectural drawings for this property. Some of you walked it on June 15th. There's a bunch of driveways being removed. There are pervious pavers that are being added. There's an addition added to two portions of the house. There's a proposed rain garden. There are decks extended around the house over existing patios. The patio bluestone to be removed, replaced with crushed stone. Down by the water, on top of the existing seawall, which is concrete, we were going to place a wooden deck and extend it landward to where it matched the bituminous pavement. On further review at the site, the decision was made not to maintain that pavement, but to remove the bituminous pavement directly behind the seawall, so the deck would then extend landward to the point where it intersected the underlying ledge. That's the yellow detail you have. So the application specifically is for that yellow sheet. The application is to put a wooden deck on top of the existing seawall, extend it landward to meet the ledge. The voids behind the existing seawall, which already have some trap rock in them, would be leveled up with riprap and crushed stone. The deck would be placed over those voids. That was one of the considerations I think David and Miriam Field, and I did like the idea of water behind the wall. The architect's engineer reviewed it, and because of the mass of the wall, it's not an issue with water gets behind it. So I took my notes from July 3rd and bracketed what I purported at that time. Placement of a wooden deck over existing bituminous and concrete adjacent to seawall, underlying pavement to remain. Limits is shown, maximum outline due to grades. Now I'm changing that to say the bituminous is to be removed. We're going to construct that deck to the adjacent ledge. There are details for the fastening, which is one of your conditions of approval.
Okay. Questions from the commission? We do have a few letters that we've received. The first one is from John Goucher. We have reviewed the above referenced proposal for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies and have no comments for the Planning and Zoning Commission's consideration. John Goucher of the Office of Long Island Sound Programs. In addition, we received a letter dated October 1st from Kevin McGee, the environmental planner for the town of Guilford. This application is for a modification of a CAM application that was approved by the commission in July 2013. The applicant had originally proposed to install the deck on top of the existing bituminous concrete located adjacent to the seawall. The current proposal is for the removal of the concrete and for the installation of riprap and crushed stone under the proposed wooden deck. This wooden deck is located in a FEMA VE flood zone, which means it is subject to wave action from storms. The documents submitted indicate that the dock will be bolted to the ledge into the seawall. The mitigation measures noted in the coastal area management application provide for erosion and sedimentation control measures that are designed to protect the adjacent coastal resources. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected, I recommend the following conditions of approval. Number one, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to site construction. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the ZEO. The applicant, number two, the applicant should remove any debris from the construction of the wood decking located near the trolley ramp to an upland disposal location at the end of each workday. And you're okay with those conditions? Okay, and the last letter we see was from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, dated October 2nd. The applicant's proposed deck addition does not conflict with septic system design for the property. Okay, any questions from the commission? Tom?
I'm trying to think about a couple technical questions. The front of the proposed heavy duty pressure treated dock planks, is that being bolted into the seawall?
Yes, it is.
So, convince me that this is not, if we have, if we had a hurricane, that this wouldn't get ripped up.
It was designed by Justin Jacobson, a structural engineer that works with Ray Organcy now, new structures, so I deferred to his judgment, and that was his layout that we added directly to our plan.
And he's a PE, right?
I believe he
Okay.
is.
I guess we're not asking any more questions.
Okay, any other questions from the commission at this time?
I just want
David.
to understand, there's no drainage through the existing seawall, no drainage pipes or anything like that.
I'm not aware of it.
I didn't think to look for it at the time. There was asphalt here, which you're removing. It seems like it's going to increase the amount of water that is in fact behind that seawall, including all of the water that's going to just drain down because of its location down the slope from everything else. You're confident the seawall is not going to be pushed out into the cove, whatever this is?
I shared Justin's comments, yes.
Okay.
All right. Questions from the public? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody wishing to speak against it? Any further questions from either the public or the commission? Okay, sure, go ahead.
I think that, I guess I've just got to ask this. You're aware that, that in a major hurricane, currently the asphalt is protecting the wall from a lot of the weight and a lot of the pressure that that might otherwise have strained it from the back during, say, Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Irene. There are some examples of some very strong seawalls under sandier conditions being ripped out wholesale in Fairfield County in Hurricane Sandy, where the wall actually operated exactly as it was supposed to. It completely withstood any wave action that the hurricane threw at it, and the hurricane went over it, around it, under it, and took it all
Right.
together. This wall is older. I'm trying to figure out if, I guess your PE already has made the determination that there's no need to provide any kind of additional drainage back out into the cove.
Right, there's no specific proposal to any of the face of the wall.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And you don't need to reinforce it or anything, according to him.
It's a big.
Right.
It's a
And we don't know how
Okay.
the wall is actually adhered to the ledge now, right? I mean, is it drilled, or?
I don't know, I do know that it hasn't budged since Irene and Sandy. I I do know that it's in a cove, a protected area, and I think the Hurricane Irene, the still water elevation, I believe, was 8 or thereabouts. Top of this wall's down around 6. So if you're in the B zone, it'd be below the wave action. But I didn't design it, but it certainly withstood 2 storms that it's faced. And we're backfilling with stone to the bottom of the deck.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing on this application. Thank you very much, and we'll move on to Russell Cooper, property located at 350 Weatherly Trail. This is a special permit for a structure over 750 square feet.
Russell Cooper of 350 Weatherly Trail. Had an A2 survey by Wallow and Associates, drawn up by Mark Young, showing my existing lot, my existing house, and my proposed carriage house. I'm looking to put a 1,008 square foot structure right into this slope here, simply because it's 750 square feet. I'll accommodate my needs, getting ready to retire, and I'd like 20-year-old cars. And 750 square feet is just big enough to put 2 cars in, not just really work around.
And you did receive a variance for the construction, right? I believe there was a variance.
For the height?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And for the R8 zoning.
So far as we know, everything's conforming with the variance.
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
thank you. Please continue.
Basically, that's it.
Okay, before we get to questions, we did get one letter from Kevin McGee, Town Environmental Planner. The application is proposing to install a 1,800 square foot garage. The garage is being installed on a hillside which slopes down towards wetlands, which are just outside of the 100-foot wetlands review zone. The plans provided do not show soil and erosion control measures. In order to make sure that the wetlands are protected, I recommend the following conditions of approval. Number 1, soil and erosion control measures shall be installed downslope of the construction to protect the adjacent wetlands from siltation. The Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officers shall be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to site construction. Soil stockpiles shall be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. Are those conditions okay with you?
Yes.
All right, then I will ask if there's any questions from the commission. Please, Tom.
Is there any property owners abutting that have houses? You come down to the end and you have a circle down at the end of Weatherly Trail.
This is the street.
Yeah.
This is the cul-de-sac.
What's to the,
Over here, I have a neighbor right here.
okay, how about below you there?
Right here, I have a neighbor approximately right down in here.
Okay,
Across the street, I have a neighbor right here.
okay,
I have another neighbor which is way back in here,
good, yeah.
abutting my property here. And the other neighbor is basically right at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Okay, any other questions from the commission?
What's
David.
happening upstairs? Is that,
This is the plan showing the slope.
okay, so the garage door? Stop.
The garage doors will come in from Weatherly Trail, right before the cul-de-sac, coming into this
Oh,
slope.
not from your existing driveway?
No, the elevation is higher here.
Okay.
So with the difference of 11 foot in elevation, it'll come right in off the street.
Okay.
Lower that.
2 days.
2 bays
Mhm.
going into the
And then
basement area of the
and then what
garage.
happens upstairs?
Upstairs was created because if I didn't put an upstairs on it, I would have had to have this roof about a foot above the upper grade, and it really wouldn't look good.
Go straight into the ground.
And aside from putting a fence around it, keep the kids from climbing it. So, decided to put a first floor right above it, just to keep it tied in with language to the style house.
And that's, is that going to be finished? Is that going to be accessory apartment?
In the future, I have no plans of doing anything with it right now.
Okay, and if you do make it into an accessory apartment, then you'd have to come
Yeah.
to us.
Okay, any further questions from the commission?
Your neighbors are fully aware of your intentions?
Yes, I had them all over, I invited them, just one at a time, and went over with it, and they all agreed to it.
And they were noticed anyways by mail,
Yeah.
right, as
They were
required.
notified twice,
Yep.
once by me and once by the town for the planning, zoning board.
For the ZBA for the variance. Okay, any questions from the public? Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am, please.
Donna Geraci, I live at 358 Weatherly. I just want to reemphasize how meticulous they keep their yard and how well manicured.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
I have some letters from my other two neighbors.
Why don't we get those entered into the record then, sir? If you could just give them to our secretary there.
One check, you know?
Want to find out what they say?
Sure, we could pass those around if you'd like. I'm sure they're all positive, otherwise you wouldn't have
Just in
given to
case
us,
they're saying
right?
everything.
Take a look at it. I'd be surprised if the applicant entered a negative letter into the record. But while we're at it, is there anyone wishing to speak against the application in the audience? Okay. Why don't we review the letters,
They have
David?
no
just to-
objection, and they're going to match the English Tudor style.
Okay. All right. Are there any further questions from the commission or anybody in the audience? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. Thank you very much. And we will move on to the Highland House, which is property located 84 Boston Street, special permit to change, for changing to special permitted use. That's right, David is recusing himself. Replacement of existing shed and museum. I believe we had this before us last time. And it's my understanding this is going to be an as-is replacement, so no variance is required, but perhaps we can
That's correct.
hear from you.
It is our preference, because the house itself doesn't have a useful cellar and storage area other than the steep steps to an attic. It was our preference to add 2 feet, so it would be 12 by 12, 14 by 12, and extend toward the street. But I was informed by Reggie Reed that it would require a site plan, and we simply don't have the funds to do it. It's a non-profit museum. We don't have the funds.
I think it would require actually a variance, right? Yeah, with the survey, right.
So rather than go through
Okay.
that, we modified it by letter. Our application to say that we were going to make it 12
All
by
right.
12 replacement in kind.
So then if we just set a condition that says a new shed replacement will replace the old in the same location and be the same size, that would be fine with you?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it will be the same, it will look the same. And we'd have no objection to the neighbors.
Okay.
This thing is going down.
Any questions from the commission? You might recall we left this open so that we could get input again on it this time, all of our questions I think have been answered. Any questions from the public? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor? Is there anybody wishing to speak against? Okay, one last opportunity. Anybody have any comments? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is an amendment to 273-245 to add a section G entitled Farmers Markets. If we can get someone to explain to us what is being requested.
Good idea this is.
Please.
Douglas Summerton, 630 Hoop Hole Road, member of the Agricultural Commission. What we're wishing to do is be able to have the zoning allow an established farm anywhere in town with sufficient off-street parking, sponsor a farmer's market. No more than 5 hours per week, not later than 7 o'clock, to promote locally grown items and to make shopping more convenient for our residents.
Okay. Now, this is just for established farms. If somebody was to create a new farm, they wouldn't be allowed to do this, or does it apply to any farm?
Well, if they just started up and became an established farm, then they'd be able to do it.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that established farms doesn't mean ones that are already established as of the date of the
No, we're talking
regulations means
one
any
that
farm.
is commercially,
Okay.
is commercial farm.
Other,
Commercial farm or non, established is not defined, commercial and non-commercial is defined.
One that is actively producing and selling products,
So presumably commercial.
presumably commercially operated.
would you have a problem if we change the established farms to commercial farms?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. If you have a farm that's already been in existence for a long time and is growing produce and selling it now, but sells it every day,
Thank you.
and that's part of their business, is that a farm market?
No, that's a farm stand. Farm market would be a collection of
More than
more
one,
than one vendor.
more than the vendor
Right.
that owns the farm.
Correct. And
So-
this would give the smaller producers a chance to be able to get together more than once, at least once a week at a farmer's market. If there's one on Saturday, if they can't participate in that, there could be one during the week they can participate in.
So the 5 hours, the New Haven Green has a farmer's market that sort of runs pretty much every week. And it runs for a little over 4 hours, I would say. Just because of the nature of how it works. I'm sure that if you add in the setup time and the breakdown time,
You're at about 5 hours.
you think you're at about 5 hours? Because they seem to show up kind of early and tootle around and sort of they have like an hour.
I participate in farm markets, I'm set up within 30 minutes.
So you're pretty confident about the 5 hours being
Most
Not
markets
putting
run
pressure
between
on it.
3 and 4 hours.
okay.
Okay, I think this may be a typo, but I just want to make sure I'm clear of the intent. It says there must be off-street parking of 3 spaces per vendor. Vendors' vehicles are to be included required parking
In
spaces.
the required parking spaces.
Okay.
That is a typo.
Okay.
And what does that mean?
It means there should be sufficient off-street parking for the vendor's vehicle plus 2 customers per vehicle,
So there's one vendor.
or 2 customers per
Two
stand.
cars.
Person.
There's one vendor, only one vendor. You have a total of 3 parking spaces required. One for the vendor and,
Then would it be a farmer's market?
no, I'm just trying to do really
Right.
simple math because sometimes that helps.
If you have 5 vendors, you
No,
need
that was
to
really
provide
complicated.
15 parking spaces.
One for each
One
vendor
for each
and
of the
2 for
vendors
each.
And 2 for potential customers.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so we just need to add included in the required parking spaces. In that needs to be added there. Okay, that clears
It
that
was
up.
in the original, it's just a typo.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page, literally and figuratively here.
I don't know about how many farms are capable of doing this right now in Guilford.
There's sufficient amount that can participate in this.
I'm saying, like, are there enough of the larger farms to be able to have these?
To be able to sponsor a market?
Yeah.
I know of at least 2 to 3 that could, that are not in Route 1 West.
Okay, other questions from the commissioners?
And there's no limitation or restriction on what they're selling. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but the farm stand, in theory, comes
We
from
got-
the
right.
farm. This could be locally
The
grown.
state
this could
covers,
be
the
something-
state covers the regs on that.
Right.
So much percentage has to be grown by them unless they hit a catastrophic crop loss from, of some kind.
But this, people could be selling crafts, people could be selling bread, people could be selling,
Well, they do sell
Well, bread is
bread.
locally, you know, it's local bakers and stuff.
I mean, but there's,
Yeah.
my point is there's actually
I
no
know.
restriction in here, right?
There's no restriction if it's crafts or, you know, bread.
Just want to make sure.
And that
Questions?
would be at the market master's discretion too. Yes.
the owner of the market or whoever makes the call. Anybody in the public, does anyone here have a question regarding the application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm Patty McKenzie. I'm representing Tony and Jerry Sciatta from 31 Lake Drive in North Guilford, Connecticut. And we're in favor of this motion to help support local agricultural, throughout the town, not just in one section of the town.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak against the application? Okay, any questions from anyone else?
I have one more question. Would it be, do you think it's necessary to define in this, I guess, amendment, in this definition of farmer's market, what can and can't be sold? Or no, or you think that?
No, the Agricultural Commission was fine with the way it was written.
Just because we do have, I guess in our statutes, we have what can be sold at farm stands, so it would be easy to just apply the same sort of standard to each farm stand in the farmer's market.
I don't think the commission would have a problem with that if we went along those same guidelines.
Well,
Maybe we save this
But
for
with the
discussion.
state, your farmers markets follow the state guidelines.
There are state
So then-
guidelines for farm markets.
But I think the farms, when you're talking about restrictions on what could be sold, are you talking about where it's produced?
No, I'm just talking about what can't be sold.
What kind of items?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the Madison Farmers Market, which my wife goes to all the time, she loves it on the green on Fridays, they sell fish, a variety of different types of fish, and breads, and some of the breads are phenomenal. Some of the breads are not locally produced, though. I mean, they're baked, some of it comes up from Norwalk, I guess, but it's,
That's still Connecticut produced.
exactly. I mean,
we probably, should save it for our deliberations, but if you have any questions that might help you with the deliberations, this would definitely be the time to ask it. Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing then on this. Thank you. 7 and 8, we have the amendment to 273-2 word usages, and also amend Table 5 for permitted uses. There's a couple of issues that have come up. One of the things I would like to propose to the commission so that we could attempt to close the public hearing tonight is that 24B dealing with propane, I believe it was mostly in the I-1 and I-2 district. I'm going to make a proposal that we pull that out of consideration as part of these two amendments and send that to the zoning committee to be further worked. I think there'll be a couple of benefits to doing that. Right now, we have an application pending before us. It's hard to have discussion really with the public on it in that we get into an ex parte kind of a situation. So if they're pulled and we send the matter to the zoning commission, we can allow members of the public to come in and discuss with us proposed solutions or potential solutions for how we want to try to resolve some of the issues that have come up with that. So if you all agree with that, if I could get a motion to take 24B, which deals with the propane, out of the Table 5 amendments, and we will send that to the zoning committee and take this up at another time and hopefully come back in at some point in the future with a revised amendment to address the situation.
I agree with that, and I would like to put the chairman's comments in the form of a motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the propane is out. George, there were a couple other issues that came up before we get to the public hearing. Yes, Mr. Jelly.
Well, I was going to, I may have tossed out another one that's related to it, which is 29, which is the retail sales under storage of home heating fuel and propane, excluding fuel storage and delivery trucks, which is the old 29E. It has now become simply 29, and is retail propane filling station, including bulk storage.
I think it should be excluding that, right? Is there a typo that we have there, George?
Excluding, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm reading my writing. At the May 16 meeting of the Table 5 committee, which I listened to on tape, the committee understood that 29 provided only for limited storage of propane, whereas at the September 18 Planning and Zoning Commission, there was discussion that suggested that there might not be any real limit on the amount of storage. And with that inconsistency between what the committee thought and what the commission now thinks, I wonder if that shouldn't go back to the zoning committee also to clarify.
George, is that part of what you wanted to?
Yes, I wanted to
Okay.
address that subject also. On that same subject, I did speak to representatives of Hocon Gas, which operate the single retail facility in Guilford now. They told me that they have at their current facility, they have 500-gallon tank, which then dispenses propane to their retail customers. In their new facility across the street, which is under construction now, they're going to have a 1,000-gallon tank. The owner of the Hocon explained to me that he thought 1,000-gallon was fairly typical and would be the upper limit of what you would typically have at a retail propane dispensing facility. And one possible solution for us is to amend this section with some kind of specification that that's the maximum
Not to
storage,
exceed
not to exceed 1,000 gallons.
Okay. Is that something that you would consider to
Oh,
be
that's
responsive? Okay, why don't we include that then, George, in the final discussion in the version which we're going to...
I had two other
right, just a
suggested
couple other-
changes I wanted to,
Oh, we'll open this up to the public, okay? I mean, do you have a comment, though, now?
Related to that, my question was, when we talk about retail filling stations, we just addressed Hocon, but does that include Big Y, for example, that has the swap program? A lot of the gas stations have the swap program. Are these deemed to be retail propane sites because we have lots of those?
Yeah.
no, I think we consider that to be accessory to the principal use of those properties, which would be either motor vehicle fuel sales or some other type of retail store, not a retail. I don't think we consider that to be a retail propane filling station.
No, it's an accessory use is how we've treated that.
Yes. And
There's there's
no storage of propane at all, except what's in the containers that they swap out.
Right.
This, just so that I understand, none of this would affect a private house, someone's house that
No,
was
this
putting in a propane storage.
This is
tank.
all commercial zones,
These
there's
are
no
all
R zones
commercial
here.
zones,
So it's nothing that's stated here.
Retail propane filling stations would not be permitted in a residential zone.
Right.
It's only permitted under this proposal in the TS and the TS2 zones.
Right, so if you want to use propane for your personal use, you can still do that.
And I don't know if there's a limit on how much you can store as part of your home
It's
fuel.
Yeah, I guess you have to talk to the fire marshal of the state on that.
That's not regulated by zoning.
It's a land, it's not a
Right.
zoning
Correct.
regulation, if to the extent there is
So
any.
you're saying that there could be no retail, a place where people in town could, if this is enacted, that no place in town, that anybody could get a propane tank except in refilled except in TS2
And TS,
and TS.
In TS zones.
right, that's correct.
That's right.
And those are rare. Let's look at the map.
I mean,
Well,
the
let's-
tank
let's-
swaps are different. That's not considered retail, that's not considered retail propane filling station. Because you're not,
If it's an
you're just swapping
accessory-
an empty tank for
If it's an
one that's full.
accessory use, Tom, it's not included under that.
That would be,
So what would happen to, for example, the Texaco station on Route 80 in North Guilford that has those propane tanks?
that's not, if they do, that's non-conforming, that's a residential zone. I didn't know that they do fill propane tanks. From a storage tank, you
I'm
mean?
not trying to get them in trouble,
No.
but they've been doing that for
Yeah.
If they're grandfathered in.
25 years?
Well, if they did it before zoning,
That's
it's
non-conforming.
I don't know.
grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So, but why don't we go, George, with the other changes you have first? I mean,
Okay.
I think we answered your question, that that's an accessory use. This, bulk, not bulk, but what's being proposed here would not be allowed in that area.
Right. In the next line, line 30 of this proposed Table B amendments, I wanted to address the question of daycare facilities, which we thought we left out of the proposed amendment here. I think the intention of the Table 5 committee was to, under number 30, which the existing line number 30 says schools, colleges, and universities, including daycare facilities. The new line says private schools, colleges, and universities. I think the intention there was to include in that the new line 33, including daycare facilities. So it should read, I believe, private schools, colleges, and universities, including daycare facilities. And those are permitted in all commercial zones, except for MULS, which is a special permit. I believe that's the proposal that the Table 5 committee intended to make. Okay. And we do have a definition, a new definition of daycare facilities, which reads as follows: facilities providing daytime care for adults or children.
George, not that this is on the horizon, but why does that read private instead of private and public?
Well, we already have another line that reads facilities of the town, state, or federal government. So if it was a public school, it would presumably be town, school, or state, so it would be considered.
Facility.
And again, those are permitted in all zones. So effectively, it's the same thing.
Okay.
And then a third change I wanted to propose. This was pointed out to us by the representatives of the agricultural community. In our definitions, we have a definition that was proposed for veterinary facilities, which reads establishments where animals are cared for and animal diseases treated, including overnight care, and then goes on to say not including long-term care or boarding of animals. I think, I'm told that has created some confusion. Overnight care could be, fairly long-term, depending on the health of the animal. To include that language, not including long-term care or boarding, creates some ambiguity. The important point is that veterinary facility does not include boarding facilities. It only allows boarding and or overnight care when the animal's being treated for disease or accident or whatever. So the suggestion was to just delete that language, not including long-term care or boarding of animals.
Okay. Let me just tell you what I would like to do with the approval of the commission is to continue the public hearing tonight with the revisions that we talked about. My objective would be to close the public hearing if that's possible. And then if we can get a fresh copy, George, of all the discussion that we had tonight with the proposed changes, if we can get that out to everyone prior to the next meeting, I'd like to have everyone review it, and then we'll debate it, and then we'll vote on it at the next meeting if we need to make any more changes to try to move this process along. So with that, I'd like to open the public hearing again and ask...
Pursuant to that,
yes,
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out also, we did promise that we would review the text. You recall in some of the zoning amendment, some sections also list permitted uses in the text form. We need to review that, staff does, to make sure that it's all consistent with these proposed changes. In any place where there's either an expansion of the language in the text or there's some kind of contradiction, we need to clarify that. We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
That wouldn't be substantive, but it would be merely to make sure everything is consistent in those two
which
areas.
Obviously we would want, so we don't have to go back.
We need to do that before we ask you to take action on this.
Would that be possible to do prior to the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I appreciate that Mr. Sonicson brought that up in the last meeting as well, because I am terrified of double entry in general.
Yeah.
All right then. Any other input from the public, either wishing to speak for or against either one of these amendments, or do you have any questions at all? Okay. Does anyone in the room have a question or any other input to make on this? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on both of these. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's take a look here. Oh, yes, there are. First one, let me read these into the record while it's still open. We have a letter dated September 17th from South Central Connecticut Regional Planning Commission regarding this. Thank you for sharing the proposed zoning regulation amendments. The Regional Planning Commission reviewed the proposal at its meeting on Thursday, September 12th. By resolution, the RPC has determined that the proposed zoning regulation amendments do not appear to cause any negative intermunicipal impacts to the towns in the South Central region, nor do there appear to be any impacts to the habitat or ecosystem of Long Island Sound. Please contact us if you have any questions. We also did receive a letter dated September 18th from Kevin McGee, the town environmental planner. The proposed zoning amendment to change of uses in Table 5 permitted uses in non-residential districts for transition and Service District 2, TS2, zone would add uses to the zone that could pose a significant threat to the adjacent Wolf Swamp. This area of wetlands is noted in the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Regulations as a major inland wetlands and watercourse. The Town of Guilford Natural Resources Inventory and Assessment, published in January 2005, noted this area of wetlands, which abuts the southwestern corner of the property, as a significant wetlands. Recognizing the importance of the wetlands complex, the Natural Resource Inventory recommended an intact 300-foot uplands buffer around the significant wetlands. The proposed changes to the TS2 zone would add use number 15, manufacture, processing, or assembly of goods, as a special permit should not be approved. Manufacturing has been one of the issues in the TS2 zone, which has resulted in the past denial for the expansion of the TS2 zone. In addition, I would recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission, as part of its review of the TS2 zone, look at removing use number 14, manufacturing, compounding, processing, packaging of treatment of foods, ice, beverage, candy, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and drugs, or pottery and ceramic products, and assemble, treatment, and/or finishing of articles made of previously prepared materials such as wood, metals, fiber, plastic, and the like from the TS2 zone. The above-noted zone change is not keeping with the plan of conservation and development, which notes that the goal of Route 1 West is to encourage appropriate development that is sensitive to existing residential areas and the local environment and maintains the general character of the region. Proposed uses noted above in the TS2 zone are not sensitive to the environment and have a potential to harm the adjacent wetlands. The proposed use number 15 in the TS2 zone should be denied, and the Commission should also look at removing use number 14 from the TS2 zone. All right.
Can I see that letter?
Absolutely. All right, so we have that in the record, and we will take that up during the deliberations as to what we want to do there. I would just ask the commission members to make note of that and be prepared to discuss at our next meeting. Any other comments before we close the public hearing on this? David, you all set?
Yeah.
Can I read that, David?
Sure. We'll send this down.
Say it again?
That's okay.
I had one last meeting.
All right.
Like, that's gonna help me.
Well, we have it now, and it's in the record. So anything else on these two? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing then. And if I can get an approval of the revised agenda, please, a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the Takahashi Sharp application. If I can get a motion, please.
Here, voted, the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal site plan application for Takahashi Sharp at 69 Andrews Road, map 12, lot 76A, as shown on an application dated August 16, 2013, and heard at a public hearing on October 2nd, 2013. The application is approved with the following conditions. 1, the zoning enforcement officer to be notified to inspect the sediment and erosion control measures prior to site construction. Soil stockpiles should be maintained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Erosion control and sediment control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed. 2, the application should remove any debris from the construction of the wood decking located near the trolley ramp to the updated disposal location at the end of each workday. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I think that this wall is strong enough, and the fact that they're backfilling it with rock should do the trick, especially if there's a PE behind it, who's confident about the the physics of a hurricane situation.
Yes, once I did hear that there was a professional engineer who signed off on the design, it made me feel better about the ability of this to withstand.
I was a little concerned about the seawall and still am, but having had the engineer say it, I mean, they certainly know. And if you look at where the water level, if you look at the well-drawn-out diagram, even if you had a heavy storm and the water came over the top, it looks to me like you really only have a small impact on how much water is actually going to stay behind that wall. So therefore, I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Is there any further discussion by the commission? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that's approved. Okay, if I could get a motion on the Russell Cooper application.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for an accessory structure over 750 square feet for Russell Cooper at 350 Weatherly Trail, map 109, lot 3-25, as shown on an application dated August 28th, 2013, and, quote, zoning location survey property of Russell L. and Edith Cooper, end quote, prepared by Russell W. Waldo and Associates, dated August 31st, 2013. This application is approved with the following conditions. Number 1, soil and erosion control measures shall be installed downslope of the construction to protect the adjacent wetlands from siltation. Number 2, the zoning enforcement officer shall be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to site construction. Soil stockpiles shall be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. This, we didn't have any additionals, correct?
No, that was...
This application is approved based upon a finding that that with the variances granted, it conforms with the zoning code and will have no adverse impact on the adjacent neighborhood. The special permit is effective on October 11th, 2013, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
And the reason I wanted to second is in his letter to his neighbors, and we talked about it briefly, I was going to propose a specific statement that says that the second floor above the garage shall not be finished and shall not be used as an accessory apartment. His letter to his neighbors said eventually it's going to be an in-law. I want to make sure he understands and expressly stated that this is not an accessory apartment today.
Yeah, the only other suggestion I just might make, David, is that I agree with you, but just say that it shall not be finished or used as an apartment unless he was to return to the commission to seek permission, because...
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so
But
just
it
that
has to be
piece.
10 years old before you can do that.
Right. So other than that, I'm okay with it personally. If whoever made the motion would like to incorporate that.
I would like to incorporate that.
Okay. And David, you'd like to re-second it, I would assume?
It sounds good to me.
Okay, having gone through the formalities, let's have some more discussion now.
I'm in favor of this, except I would like to ask the question about the driveway off of Weatherly Trail and whether there's any requirement that that be reviewed by the town engineering staff or line of sight.
You need a permit from the town for that driveway, which would be reviewed by the town engineer.
So should there be something in here that says that he has to be?
Well, no, he's not going to get a permit to build it unless he goes to the town.
Yeah, you could point that,
I don't want to make it any more
out.
burdensome as long as the person that's here before us knows that they're going to have to get a permit for the
Well, when he
driveway.
comes in for the building permit, you're going to advise him that he can't.
He needs, yeah.
Right, you have to.
So once this is built, if he does nothing else, he's going to be bringing these cars that he wants to work on just over the grass and putting them into the...
Presumably he could.
I guess so.
I mean, that's-
Well, I would think, though, that before he starts construction, I mean, if it was probably any of us, we would go get the permission to make sure we can get the
Yes,
driveway in
I think
before
he
we
knows
build
that.
it and have to drive over the lawn.
If he does, and he knows now.
All right, having said that, are there any other questions or any other issues anyone would like to discuss? Okay, hearing that, I'll call for a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that one has been approved. Next item is the Highland House. If someone will be a motion.
That the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit revision for the Highland House at 84 Boston Street, map 40, lot 40, to replace an existing shed at the museum as shown on an application plan and plans dated September 13th, 2013. The application is approved with the following condition: that the new shed replaces the old in the same location and be the same size. This application is approved based upon the findings that the project will have no adverse impact on the adjacent property or the historic neighborhood. The special permit is effective on October 11th, 2013, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, I note that David has recused himself, so he will not be voting. Is there any discussion on this? Again, this is just a like-for-like replacement at this point to fix something that's dilapidated and probably a hazard and certainly doesn't look that good, so.
It's also a threat to their collection right now because they really need that storage space. They don't have any other facility anywhere else in town, so they currently store things in the attic and in that shed, which means that anything in that shed is exposed to the elements.
And it's very admirable that they do maintain it. I think it adds to the historic district of Guilford.
All right, then. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that's passed. All right, the last item from the public hearing is the amendment to 273-245 to add a section G, and I would note that we did make a few wording changes in our discussion, first being instead of established farms, it's going to be commercial farms. And then I believe we added after included, but before required in the. And other than that, I'm not sure of anything else at this point, so if someone could read the motion including those changes, I think we should be all set.
Proposed motion, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve an amendment to the zoning code as follows. After F of 273245, G, commercial farms may sponsor farmers markets. The market will be held on the sponsoring farm's property. There must be off-street parking of 3 spaces per vendor. Vendors' vehicles are to be included in the required parking spaces. The market will have specific hours of operation totaling no more than 5 hours per week to include setup and breakdown times. No markets to be open after 7 p.m.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it?
I would ask that we put a hyphen between off and street. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Is that okay with the individual who made the motion
okay.
and the individual who seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, then it's included at this point.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Why do we think we need to limit it to 5 hours a week?
Well, that's what the applicant asked for. I mean, that's, the proponent of it has said 5 hours. I think probably the reason for it is that they don't want it to get out of hand and turn into 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in some of these locations. Something,
They're
exaggerating perhaps.
Sort of made it seem like if they have 3 commercial farms, they could really get away with 15 hours per week. That's, each farm.
It's got to be very seasonal, though. I mean, the farm is limited in terms of time. I mean, how long could what's the season for farmer's market?
Well,
Depends what you're selling.
I know the one in North Guilford they actually close, I think they start in maybe mid-April, and they're closed, I think around the 1st of November.
This is Dudley Farms?
Yeah, and I also know that they right now, I mean, they're not there all day. When they have this, they have it on Saturday, and they're not there all day. But I don't know, I mean, some people, I guess you'd have to tell them to stay off the property until 8 o'clock when they set up, because I go to work there on Saturday morning, and there's usually people there already at 7 o'clock getting set up, so. And I think generally they're done at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah. I think the fact that the local people are the ones that are applying, I think they would basically regulate it to the point that it's going to be in the best interests of this community. Madison has a good one, and it's just basically on Fridays, I guess 3 hours, and they've never had any issues. And I don't, the fact that we are an agricultural community, I think they're going to basically stay within that time, that framework.
And I think it's good to put the limit in there as we have it. Just, it's always easier to expand that than it is to try to take it back. So I'm fine with it as it is, and if in the future we need to expand the hours, I'd be willing to listen to an argument as to why, but probably a good way to start with something like this in town.
Just to be consistent with the other definitions in this section, I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't add, you know, in the farm stand section, it says, it kind of defines what can be sold. And I don't, you know, at least 50% of all farm products must be produced by the farm stand. I mean, I know he explained that there's other regulations for the farmer's market, but if we already have a reasonable definition for this.
Is there anything in that is there anything that is external to that farm stand definition that that the applicant would want to sell and that we would feel was appropriate as well?
I don't think that there's a farm stand.
The Madison one does sell fish, and they have some other things.
Yeah, but I think that they'd be able to sell fish with this.
Yeah,
They would.
fish, breads.
Yeah, they would, even
They
with this
would.
definition, I think they'd be able to sell fish.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess we don't need to include it, just looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the problem starts to get into how do you, enforceability. I mean,
It's the same problem with enforcing it
yeah,
with farm stands.
and that's another reason why maybe that one should be revisited, but, I mean, I'm fine with it as is. If we run into a problem with it, I mean, I think it's clear what the intent is supposed to be here. Hopefully, there won't be any abuse of it, but if there is, we'll have to deal with it.
It'll be easy to adjust over time too, I think, if we have a.
Now, what about vendors selling hot dogs and hamburgers? Is that going to be permitted?
Is the pork from, or beef from Guilford?
I don't know, because that could happen, I mean, literally.
There were some cows down on 146 today that got out into
That
the marsh.
used to be there, right? Yeah.
They
Well, I
might be
mean,
hamburgers.
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that someone's going to do that, but I believe if, the answer is yes, that could be permitted under here.
The gentleman that was your presenter does make his own hot dogs.
Yeah, and that's fine.
You said he makes his
His
own
beef.
hot dogs?
Yes.
Really?
They're
comes
very
from
serious
somewhere.
about this. This amendment helps the small farmer who's out of the way, they're not down on a main road, they're tucked away someplace, to come to another farm that's larger and have some visibility. And to be able to sell what they produce, so that they can reap the economic benefits of it.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why it might be better for us to just hold ourselves to whatever the state restrictions are and not try to close them off further.
I mean,
It'll probably
Yeah, no, that's
certainly
fine.
willing
I was
to.
just going for
No,
consistency.
that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I think my inclination would be to change the other regulation rather than this one, but we won't go there tonight because we don't have that issue on the table before us. All right, I guess we've probably discussed it to a certain degree. I'll call for a vote. Is there any, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that one has been passed.
Fred, when is that going to be effective?
It didn't say on there, so
Effective immediately?
it has to be published
12th, October, whatever that next Friday is.
12th, yeah, right. I believe it's the 12th of it because it has to be published. Okay, moving along, we have some site plans before us this evening. The first one is Mr. Anthony DeLuca, property located at 2692 Boston Post Road. This is a site plan revision to utilize an existing structure by the property owner as a fruit and produce stand. We'd like to receive and take action, so if I can get a motion to receive, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's received, sir. Please let us know what you'd like to do.
My name is Anthony Galusha, live at 2692 Boston Post Road. I've lived there since 1989. My family has owned the property since 1956. Exactly 50 years to the date, it's the actual month. I helped my grandfather sell fruit and produce in the same building. It's not actually the same building, it's been rebuilt since. The old one caved in and I rebuilt it. The property is commercial, it's 17.4 acres. And I have a schematic here as best I could, and I also have, if needed, a survey copy of the property. It's to be a seasonal stand, probably from sometime in April, depending on the weather, to sometime in October, I guess, when it gets cold, since it will be heating.
Okay. So then it's been existing, it used to be one a long time ago. What you're looking to do is to just restart what was there previously.
Just a side note, Sunday morning I went out, just on my own, and just wanted to see what how the neighbors felt about it. I only went a little less than 2/10 of a mile, and within an hour and 20 minutes, I had almost 2 pages of signatures, and I just stopped at that point, and I found no one had opposed it at all.
Great, maybe we can just get that into the record as part of the application. Let me ask, are there any questions? Just with regard to signs, I see there's a condition here that any sign shall be subject to a separate permit. That's just standard procedure, just to make sure you're aware of that, right, in terms of signs? There's a special permit you need for those?
I indicated somewhere, but I'm looking to put up 3 4x4 portable signs, like A-frame signs, not lighted. And, I don't know if I would take them down every day, but.
Okay. And Reg, I think he would just need to file the application with you, right, for the sign applications? Okay. So just so that you know, you need to do that prior to putting them up, that's all.
Just out of curiosity, based on this map, where is your location? I assume it's about here
You see
somewhere?
that big CD zone?
Oh, okay.
It's on the same, it's in the CD there.
Yeah.
I drive by it almost a couple times a week. I see it standing there, so it'll be nice to see it open.
This was reviewed by staff, police
Dave,
chief.
you pass that down?
Others to make sure that there weren't any issues with traffic control or anything like that. Everybody was happy with it.
Okay.
This will also require a waiver of the professionally prepared site plan requirement.
How many spaces have we really determined that we have there? I mean, they seem to clearly exceed the requirements.
Yeah, they're not going to be marked or anything like that, but there's a lot of place for people to park. Probably a lot more than you'll have customers, frankly.
So my wife is organic and she's a tree lover. She wants no more trees cut, so I just hope that.
Let's hope that's enough.
Okay.
How many spaces are really required?
You want Frank to count the number of spaces?
Well, based on a new regulation, it's...
Let's make Frank.
It's
6.
Well, wait a minute, let's think about that.
How big is the building?
20 by 20.
20 by 20.
400, so.
Oh, we weren't required
So
to
you'd
determine
be-
that before the
you'd be
meeting.
required to
because
have,
it's just
what,
a-
2 parking spaces?
Right.
Including one for the vendor.
So you got
And these
plenty-
look like trucks, so they might even be wider.
So we more than meet the requirement.
Yes,
We're well above it.
for sure.
All right, are there any other questions of the applicant?
Just to clarify one more time, you said you're not, this building is already existing, it's not being changed, parking driveway has already been created.
Broadway Mason.
Thank you.
Left-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then, well, why don't we get a motion so we can discuss this?
I have it. You want to read it, David?
No, I was going to say we need to waive the professional.
Well, I was going to do that after when we got the motion on the table and made sure that we didn't need one, then we'll come back and waive it.
Voted, the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan application for a fruit and produce stand at 2692 Boston Post Road, map 83, lot 23, as shown in an application and plans dated September 9th, 2013, and September 13th, 2013. The application is approved with the following conditions: that any sign shall be subject to a separate permit. This application is approved upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Second.
Okay, I will just remind the commission that we do have to do a waiver of a professionally prepared site plan. After this, if you agree, we have enough information before us to vote on this application. So why don't we discuss it? Again, it's existing. It basically was a stand at one point in time, so it's a relatively minor change in my opinion. It is where it is.
It is what it is.
Do we want to put hours of operation, since this is a CD? In his application letter, he says hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. It will be a seasonal operation.
Now, in in the middle of summer, though, when the sun goes down a little bit later, that might be slightly onerous, right? You would do it.
You'd be okay with those hours?
Okay.
Okay, I don't have a problem then if the applicant's okay with that, setting that as a condition.
What were the hours again?
10 a.m. to 6 p.m. At the applicant's.
That's my motion.
Yeah, do you want to add that, or?
Not really.
He doesn't,
Okay.
he doesn't want to restrict.
It's another restriction on I was trying to, I mean, what if he wants to get up at this, I mean, if he's up, if he's up and he wants to go there at 8 o'clock, I mean, what's the big deal?
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but he says 10 to 6 is good. 10
So,
to
so
6.
he may want to do that, but if we say 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock, then he can do what he wants in between those hours.
Where is this again on the post road?
In the CD right
In
here.
the CD right there, so there's
Is that right? Yes.
is there residential across the street from
Yes,
there?
there's residential all around.
So when you talked to your neighbors and you got all of their approvals, did you tell them what you thought the hours of operation were going to be?
Yes.
Okay, and that didn't include 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 p.m. or
Okay.
10 p.m., right? Okay. That's my concern about not having the hours.
I mean, I see your point that, what's been represented to the neighbors, we want to just make sure that what comes out of here is the same thing that they heard from the applicant. So with that clarification, I'm okay with it. That's a condition, 10 to 6.
All right, I'll go along with it. I just didn't want it, I
it's a
don't want him
good-
to get boxed in with what he's
Yep, I
doing here.
agree. You raised a good issue, and we got an answer to it. So who seconded it, by the way? Whoever. Did you?
I seconded it.
And you're okay with it?
I'll vote for it either way, but
Okay.
yes, I'll second the.
So
the
we're going to
10
have
6.
a
10 a.m. to 6 p.m. hours of operation.
10 a.m. to 6 p.m. hours.
Daily. Okay, I think we've probably discussed this to death, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None. Okay, you're all set.
Move we waive the professional waste cycle.
Yes, that's a good point. Having agreed to do this, I'd like a motion to waive the professionally prepared site plan.
Second?
Okay, any discussion?
I note that the building is existing, the driveway is existing, and that makes complete sense to me to not have to worry about a professionally prepared site plan
Okay,
in circumstances like that.
a good point. Okay then, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, we're all set then. Okay, next item is Russ Campaign. We've got property 31 Park Avenue, it's site plan revision to allow the Guilford Preservation Alliance to construct an information kiosk at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, receive and take action. Okay, if I can get a motion to
What is-
receive.
What organization is this?
GPA,
I'm
Guilford
going to recuse
Preservation.
myself again because I'm on the board. for this.
Okay, so I could just get a motion to receive? Sure.
Voted.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, it's received. Now, I understand you have a variance and the Historic District Commission approval already.
Yes, we do.
Very good. Okay, please, go ahead.
I'm not sure how much you've heard about this, but basically I was approached and hired by the GPA to explore sort of a centerpiece to their cultural tourism, heritage tourism efforts that are going on in town. They've probably seen walking tours that have been run by high school students. They're looking for basically the next step to that, which is a proposal to put an actual physical kiosk that would be staffed by volunteers and high school students as sort of a meeting point to launch the tours as well as a place to direct people around town. And in addition, it would have some computer technology interface, some sort of touchscreen to allow for advertising both to businesses and local restaurants, those sorts of things, but also have mapping and such that would allow direction around town. And in exploring several other areas to place this within town, we've settled on the actual eastern southeast corner of this site right here as you come in. So right here is the drive entrance in, there's the handicap parking along the side and the walkway that comes in the entrance. We're looking to tuck it over on this far side, which is a green area that really is free of any obstruction right now. And the proposal is a 6 by 12 kiosk. That gives us enough room for an accessible staffing area that needs to meet certain requirements to meet the ADA, and room for some storage of pamphlets and other brochures and those sorts of things. And we're placing it on a 30 by 30 sort of level patio area with a 12-foot tongue that comes out to the street to sort of welcome in visitors and connect to the pedestrian way here. And then there'd be a curb cut very similar to the way that this side is set up with an accessible entrance into the area from the back side. And in addition, we're proposing 2 park benches and some bike storage associated with it in an effort to sort of make a little bit of a plaza out of it, make it a meeting place that people can start to identify. The appearance is sort of fashioned a little bit after sort of a mid-century ticket booth that's sort of been a little bit modernized. So it's about 9'6" tall, and we made a large overhang with the base being small at 6 by 12, but made a 3'6" overhang to protect the window, protect for posters, and protect from the screen interface and other things that would be on the building. And we're proposing it to be somewhat simple and clean in the way that it's set up, with a metal roof that would harken over to the Percon church building that's next door, with it being sort of a metallic color. And then probably a simple white, very simple siding that's on it that would be made out of AZEK but would be painted and not easily identified as a synthetic material. And we're showing a thinner spacing on the top with a set of French windows that would swing in when it's open, and then a larger base and a sort of chair rail that comes around it that turns into the counter where you interface. And on the back side, it faces toward the parking lot. We're proposing potentially an interface screen, although of late we've had some feedback that it might be better to buy, and much more affordable for us, to buy an actual packaged unit that would be about this big and would sit sort of off of the building. And it's more from a vantage point, and this turns into a very custom undertaking that we got from a consultant recently. And those prepackaged ones are probably a third of the cost and probably more flexible. So we may have a computer screen interface here, which we place facing the backside so it's not visible. The alternative that we may explore is actually putting one of these modulars that are about this big that would sit possibly on the side of the kiosk. And then there's some fixed posting boards. We're looking to make it resistant to staples and other things. We don't want postings all over it, but there will be a few glass encased posting areas that can be coordinated for posting of certain events and summer events and calendars and those sorts of things. From a lighting perspective, we're proposing to use the large overhang as a way to put recessed LED lighting up in there that would be a full cutoff and sort of just give a glow and a safe feeling around the plaza. And then we would leverage the existing lighting that exists for the parking lot. There's a pole light that's adjacent that sits right here, another one over here, and there's one back here. And we would cycle that lighting with the parking lot lighting so that it sort of had the same hours of operation that currently the community center has. Let's see, as far as signage, you can see there's sort of an idea of signage. We're going through sort of a process with this in which there's a second round of funding that will have quite a bit more to make a sort of comprehensive signage package for the whole of the town, sort of represent all of the various houses and give additional information. And this, we'd like to have a little bit of flexibility to allow that to sort of inform this, and so it's all consistent as a package. But the idea would be there'd be a large freeze board, and there'd be some sort of very simple signage, probably picking up on what the signage of the existing entry, which is just black typeface on a white background, and I think that might be the direction that some of the other signage would go. So it'd be simple, it'd be clean, and it wouldn't be overdone. There'd just be simple information or tourist information or something along those lines. I did submit cuts for the proposed benches that we had that are in your package, and as well the bike racks, which are similar to the way that the schools have proceeded with the Wave, which is sort of a metal object that goes like this, very simple but secure. And I do have some sort of renderings on what it will look like. The variances were associated with a little bit of bookkeeping associated with the original community center, which was put into nonconformity with one of the changes of the R1 district. So we look to maintain the front setback at 30 feet, but that required a 2-foot variance associated with our overhang. And we also had to increase the lot coverage by just a fraction. I mean, it's 60 square feet or so is the footprint. So it was 0.2% or something like that we asked for it, but arguing that the hardship was associated with the continued operation and use of the site and that it pre-existed zoning. So are there any questions that you have associated with
Sure. If you could just orient me, the building, what would it face?
So it faces the street.
So it's facing right here.
It's over in this corner, looking out toward Church Street,
Okay.
not in the front. It's over on the far side of
It's
the
on the other
other
side of the driveway.
Now, what would keep a car from just stopping right in front to run in to get something?
I think the opportunities for parking that's off the street, I mean, it's 30 feet off the sidewalk and then 38 feet off of the road. I don't think it's suggesting that someone would park on a state highway in front of it and come in. I think that there's ample opportunity for someone to come off the road for it. But I mean, it's also very much set up as a pedestrian entry. And we do like that, any mapping and such will bring you down Church Street to the center of town if you Google Map it or something along those lines. So it is well located, but I think there's just as much possibility that someone would park in front of a community center and run in as there would be here. I don't see I don't see a vulnerability with that.
You don't think that, though, that people that came to that kiosk might park in the community parking lot and then decide to look at that and then wander off and walk around town and use this place at the community center parking lot as a parking space for themselves?
Potentially. I think we've talked a lot with the rec center and the way that things operate, and there's a lot of off-cycle use. I mean, really, when you see this maxed out is evening meetings where this won't be really operating. And, this will be mostly on weekends where there's occasional parties. A lot of times the center of this is actually closed on the weekends. So I think that the staging of the use of this actually is a benefit to the town because they were bringing people in for economic development, and it is off-cycle with most of the use of the community center. So I think we've gotten positive. We've got unanimous support from the Park and Rec Community Center Commission. We're sort of looking at that as an advantage. We're saying that, the public bathrooms that are here, there's no other real public bathrooms in town. I mean, we're looking as an economic development opportunity to attract people in and bring them through the town.
Are there any plans to have a sign directing the public where to park?
We definitely can, but this is somewhat public parking. I mean, I don't understand where we direct them to park. I mean, they can also, if they miss it,
to
park
try
on
to
the green.
encourage them not to leave the car right in front?
It's no
When
parking
you
on
say
the
right,
street.
No parking.
There's no parking on the ticket.
No, but I mean, let's say, for instance, the kiosk is going to be right there. And if you pull in, just leave the car and maybe block traffic.
well, that's illegal if they do it. And if it becomes an issue, I'm sure we'll get a police officer down here and, some tickets will probably end that. I mean,
That's how we're going to get the revenue.
yeah, it's going to increase revenue too. No, but I mean, anything you put anywhere, there's a potential for people to park.
I'm sure you've looked at a lot of other sites for this, and
Yes.
this is probably one of the more convenient sites for parking situations, because especially since you know how tight the green is over here, it can be, so, if you were to put this right in the middle of the green, it just says,
I mean, honestly, I think most people are going to pull in and park, and they're not going to park in the street to go in there and leave the car running or something.
How is this going to get electricity?
We probably will hopefully come off of this without a separate meter, but we would do a sub-meter off of it, and we would sort of resolve the costs of that separately. But just to avoid the rental of another meter, we may, if we have to, come in separately. We can have a meter on the back side and come off a pole that's actually right over on the far side and go underground from there. But the hope is that there's actually a conduit that runs over to this side that we'll be able to do a sub-meter off of that. It'll be simple.
So underground.
Yes.
Connect to whatever, a riser pole out in the street.
Yes,
whatever.
there's existing conduit under here, and the hope is we can come off of this and get enough power off of that. If we can't, then we have to bring around and have a meter that would be underground for the poles on our side of the street.
Sure, David.
I think you hit on it, but I'm going to ask you again because lighting. We're talking about existing.
Yep. So there's
a street pole, or not a street lamp per se,
but a parking lot lamp.
Right.
Here.
Right over there.
Right.
Yep.
There's one here, and I think there's one somewhere here that's not on my plan.
Okay.
Then the large overhang which you see dotted here in the building will have a series of downlight cans that are about a 40-watt equivalent that run around it and would be on the same time cycle, the same timer cycle as the main lights.
Okay. Same timer cycle, these things turn off at some point?
Yes. Yeah, I think 10 o'clock or so.
Something like that.
30 or so.
Okay, yeah, it does get dark. I think the only thing that concerned me is across the street is a house.
Yep.
And because this is set to be a site plan approval, they didn't get notified or noticed, so I'm not sure if they're gonna look out the window one day and say, look that.
Shirley, would you like to, yeah, participate? Sure.
We've had 3 public hearings with the Historic District. One with the Selectmen, one with the Park and Rec, and one with the Zoning Board of Appeals. Everybody, it's all been publicly noticed. And we've had several articles about the whole initiative. And there hasn't been one negative comment or question.
But also, I would also say that this is, the lighting's at sort of 9'6", and versus a pole light that's up to 22, 24 feet. And, it's really just sort of lighting down where the houses across the street actually have a grade gain of probably 5 feet and then another 5 feet to the front porch. And they're looking kind of down at this. I think from, it will light it up and it will be a little bit bright, but I don't think there's a glare issue or a direct light pollution.
Right.
And these are recessed cans, so they do have a full cutoff characteristic, so there really is no sight line to the actual hole.
Tom, do you have a?
I have questions about this. I'm not against it, but I mean, you're taking a piece of property that's publicly owned by the town of Guilford, and you're putting something on it that is being put on there by a private, or not a private organization, but certainly not. I mean, not what I would consider a public organization. It's a privately. There are members in that. It's almost like
the town will own the building when we finish. We're donating the building to the town, and the town is going to take ownership on it. And we're in
who takes care of the maintenance on it once you turn it over to the town?
We have talked to the selectmen about how that should be arranged, and so we're probably.
It's not really a land use issue. That's more an issue for the Board of Selectmen in terms of, they're the only ones that can bind the town to a contract to take that over or to pick it up in maintenance, so it's not really something
This is technically an application of the town. The Board of Selectmen authorized GPA and Russ to be the applicants on behalf of the town.
Anyone out there who has an issue with this, they need to take it up with the Board of Selectmen. It's not really a land use issue.
The costs and the management issues.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
The cost is $75,000 to $100,000. It's not an inexpensive structure. It's being designed by a very creative, talented architect, using very good materials and using low maintenance materials.
We're also, in keeping with the sort of aesthetic of the rest of the community center, we are proposing just a brushed concrete surface for this. That again probably would be done by the town to actually do that. Then a foundation would be put in. We're thinking of constructing it off-site and setting it up in a modular way so it can be dropped in so that it minimizes the disturbance in that area. It can happen very quickly. So we've thought these through, and we've been to just about everybody talking through. So I think most of the concerns have been brought out.
So am I understanding that the Board of Selectmen has a thorough understanding of what might be the legal exposure here if someone fell? The risk of having more people there, the risk of people using the parking lot.
It would fall under their umbrella of their insurance that they have for this property and the rest of the public areas.
I mean,
people
really, that's,
yes,
I think a question, though, you'd really have to ask them. I mean,
I don't know,
ultimately, so, again,
I'm pretty,
not
I'm
really.
not the speaker now.
Sure.
I mean, I was in the Board of Selectmen meeting when they presented this, and I think it was fairly clearly understood by the Board of Selectmen that ultimately this will be the intention of the GPA was to give this to the town as part of the 375 celebration. And when the Board of Selectmen, and including Jim Portland was in some of the meetings, there wasn't a major concern voiced, one about the maintenance because of the materials that are planned to be used. And if I'm not mistaken, Pam Millman was in with the Board of Selectmen meeting as well, understanding it's another structure of the town.
Who's Pam?
She's the attorney, the town attorney, and the purchasing person. So, I mean, it was somewhat viewed as just, I say just, ultimately another town building that will be maintained. But they thought that value, contributions to the town, information source, and helping was worth the trade-off.
How many square feet is this?
It's 6 by 12 is the interior space. The overhang is 3'6".
Okay, any other questions?
I just
Peter?
got one question. Would it be practical to ascertain that no one just pulls in, leaves a car in the street, or parks illegally, to basically have a parking area designated for that kiosk and say parking only for this kiosk? So that gives someone a space to park and just put a sign out there, as opposed to, because, you know, sometimes it does get kind of crowded. I know it's in the afternoon, but today I couldn't get a parking space here. Of course, it's in the evening. And we want to make sure that no one does just leave their car somewhere and just runs in and runs out.
I think, I mean, through signage, we could suggest something, you know, along those lines. I'm, you know, not sure how, I mean, you know, I'm not sure how to enforce it or how that really gets played out, because it's not like it's a handicapped accessible sign or something along those lines, and I'm also not sure about the parking count.
There's
And
2
you don't wanna-
parking spaces here that say 10-minute parking.
Yes.
Yes, that's,
Yeah,
That
they're
would
right.
serve
You're
the
right.
purpose.
okay, that's it.
So that
Yeah.
if somebody's coming for a class, they're not going to park there.
Yeah, good.
Can I see the picture real quick?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to park there.
They don't.
Hey,
I would,
Hey, Peter, the other issue that's sort of a problem, I mean, and I don't want to say a problem, there may be more people that ultimately come and park here, because the intention is to have some of the walking tours start from here, and Park and Rec has using their bus for the bus tours that now go. So, I mean, there could be half a dozen cars on a Saturday or a Sunday, well, or during the week, that might be parked in here. So to label a couple specific spots for kiosk only, from a practical sense, we probably need more than, or possibly more than what we're just labeling. And then on the other hand, you don't want to use those couple spaces for those days that it's really busy in here.
Well, you can limit the time of kiosk parking from 10 to 7, 2 to 5.
GPA's.
They're not going to pay attention to that.
Well,
I think the other thing is, I mean, one of the other elements that we are just starting to work on as part of the tourism group is looking at signage, interpretive signage and directional signage. And we're just starting to scratch the surface there, but the whole concept of parking is one that's going to be addressed. I mean, certainly we could point people to this lot. You know, I want to point people to the town hall lot on the weekends, because that one's wide open and nobody really uses it, you know. So, I mean, I think we can take all this under advisement and see how we can integrate it into the overall signage plan that we're developing.
Shirley?
The community center is really not used at all on Saturday, so the parking lot will be empty. And Sunday, there's a church service here. Again, the parking lot will be empty. And that's when we anticipate the height of the use, is the weekends.
Well, how about during the summer? Wouldn't,
That's the summer. He said there's no programs on Saturday in the summer. Rick was at our workshop last week for interpretive signage and the content that people would like to see in the kiosk, all the resources, all the information. We're working with historians. We've had a historian consultant come and conduct 4 workshops this past week. We had an expert in interpretive signage and computers who worked on the 9/11 memorial come also, and we were able to do that through a grant from the Connecticut Humanities. The state looks at Guilford as being on the cutting edge of this renewal of tourism, cultural historic tourism, which has been proven to be an economic boom for a community.
Good. Any other questions that anyone has? Okay.
I'm just hoping that everybody understands, I still have concerns about the parking, because if you come down here on Sunday, I know the First Church has services next door, and a lot of times their people are parking in this parking lot. And I've been down here on days of the week, 4 meetings, and there has been a lot of cars in this parking lot. And I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about the location more than I am. I think it's a great idea. I'm just concerned about it being where it is.
Well, where else, where else would you put it? You're not, you can't really put it on the green. There's the parking around there is occupied too. Maybe I'm missing something, but I think the whole idea is to try to get more people downtown especially on the weekends, and have more business for the vendors. as
This
people
isn't
walk
only going
around.
to be open on the weekends.
No, and if it's during the week too, and it gets more people down here, it's even better for the vendors that are, around the green or around this area to hopefully get more customers. So, to me, this is a good way to encourage the economic development, which is good for our tax base and with minimal impact to the environment, since, we have the parking. I mean, the parking lot's here to be used. I wish it was filled every day with people coming downtown to take advantage of business. So, I mean, again, maybe I'm missing something, but I think the whole idea is to try to get people down here and to use the parking lot and then to walk around town, see what we have. This is going to encourage them to get here. And while they're here, hopefully they'll drop a few bucks at some of the vendors that we have downtown and strengthen, the economy of our downtown area as well.
It's going to be hard to tell, even how many park and stay here. Because some may come and find out, oh, I was looking for the trails. I was looking where I could dump a kayak. I was looking for a restaurant. So, I mean, they may come in, get their information, and leave. It's probably more so people that are going to do the walking tour, the bus tours, that may park here, I say, for a more extended period.
I mean, really, this is kind of, you want somewhere towards the center of town. And when you really think about it, this is probably the place that has the most parking of any of the realistic places that we could put something like this, unless we put it in the big wide parking lot or something. But if you're trying to to encourage the people to come downtown to the center to look at things, to me, this is probably, of all the places you have around here, the best place to locate it, since there actually is some parking here, and more often than not, it's not completely utilized. Okay, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a motion, and then we can continue discussing it if necessary. So if I can get a motion, please, to...
Proposed motion.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I thought I had a letter from staff. I don't.
All right, proposed motion, GPA kiosk, voted the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan application for the town of Guilford to construct an informational kiosk at the Green Community Center, 31 Park Street, map 39, lot 38, as shown in an application dated August 28, 2013, and plan prepared by Russell Campaign on behalf of the Guilford Preservation Alliance. This application is approved with the following conditions. This application is approved based upon a finding that with the variance granted, it conforms with the zoning code.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I think, we've had some good discussion. I think, the parking, it could potentially be an issue, but in terms of where else you can really locate this, you put it near the green, that's packed anyways. A lot of traffic there as it is. We do want to encourage more visitors downtown to, as I said, drop a few dollars while they're in the area. So all things considered, I'm pretty pleased with this location. It was obviously a great deal of thought and planning that went into this.
Yeah, exactly. I think the GPA and all the other committees involved with this spent most of the time picking the spot, probably.
Yeah.
So.
And let's face it, there's, not a few things in life are perfect. You're never going to find a location that meets all the requirements 100%. So, being realistic and saying what we're trying to accomplish here, I do think this is perhaps the best location. And again, well thought out, well planned, and I'm in favor of it.
Hey, Ray, a technicality question.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't 31 Park Street Town Hall as opposed to this being Church Street?
Maybe that's because, yeah.
So that will be a revision, and I will accept it. 31, is it over Church Street then?
Yeah.
Okay. 31 Church Street.
It says Park Street here. How was it noticed?
It's 32 Church.
Well, there's no
32
notice. This
Church
isn't public.
Street.
Yeah, so it's not a problem in this case. Okay.
I would just make a suggestion. If this is the, which obviously I second, so I'm in favor of this, but if this is, and it's probably just a bad opinion here, this is the segue to downtown Guilford and where the tourism, I really think that you should take a look at the structure of that building and make it really attractive, because by the pictures, it's very unimpressive. And if this is like something that people are going to see first, I know there's a lot of hard work going into it, but maybe, and it just didn't look very impressive at all.
Yeah, well, too, they're limited in the amount of space that they have to work
Well, not the
with.
size, but just for $75,000, you could do a lot of stonework and a lot of hardy board. So I would just really caution thinking about that. I mean, it's like you guys were building, it's a segue to the downtown Guilford, our merchants, our beautiful green, so should be attractive.
Good point. Okay, I'm sorry, Tom.
No, I'm done.
All right, well, I guess we're done, so let's call for a vote. All in favor? Anybody
I'm in
opposed?
favor of it.
Okay,
I'm in favor.
then it looks like it's passed. Okay, you're all set. So we're ready to move on to
Mr. Norton.
joint effort. Mr. Norton, this is 300 Village Walk. This is a change in use from retail to an exercise facility. If I can get a motion to receive?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's received. Sir, please.
So, and I've been working with the medical exercise for about 4 years now. I studied exercise physiology, and mainly been working with seniors and disabled and kind of special populations. And I feel like it's a very underserved population of people, and they need a place to go where they can feel comfortable. So I want to open up a small place at 300 Village Walk, formerly the Aurora dress store in the last few years. And it's an 1,100 square foot space, so extremely small in terms of fitness centers, but very small, comfortable environment that people can exercise in that wouldn't necessarily go, or couldn't necessarily go to a large place.
Okay. Now, there's no interior or external, I'm more concerned about external, there's no external changes to the property at all.
Yeah, where is, when you say 300 Village Walk, that's the U-shaped?
Yes, sir.
Which right side, right?
As soon as you pull into the driveway, it's on the right side. It's actually the first store on the right.
That was a restaurant? Is that the one?
Right behind the restaurant. It's the first one.
Behind Mr. James?
Mr. James.
Okay. So ground level, above you is residential. Coming underneath.
Okay, we have a letter from Dennis Johnson in the file regarding the application. The applicant's proposed change in use is compatible with septic systems facilities currently existing on the site, and I'm sure that parking and all those other considerations were looked at by staff, and there are no issues with any of those.
No.
Okay.
I'm very sorry. I'm still slightly confused about where it is. It's right behind Mr. J's. It's on the right. It's the first.
Almost tucked into the corner there, like as soon as you pull in, Mr. J's would be, I'm sorry.
What comes right after?
There's the awning store?
Yeah, start. Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of around the back there.
Okay. No, I've got it now. Okay.
All right then. Any questions of the applicant? If not, I'll ask for a motion then.
I have one for
Sure.
town staff. Why, I think I know the answer to this, but why is it before us?
Changing use from retail store to
And this-
exercise facility.
And the exercise facility is
Permitted use.
It's different from retail.
permitted, but it's different.
Yeah, it's a different
And it's
use.
permitted only by special permit.
No, it's just not special, it's site.
Special
This
Okay.
is just a site plan.
This, it's just not of right.
No, it isn't.
It is a right, but you still need to come in.
We've interpreted our rules to mean when you change the use, it has to be a site plan review. That way we can at least talk about issues like, is the parking requirement going to be greater with the new use than the old one, or septic, or something like that?
Or are you changing the footprint of the building?
Building,
Well, then it's-
or
then it wouldn't
is it
just
a
be a
more
change in
intensive
use.
use, which is going to, impact the septic system or require more parking, or is there going to be noise generated or light or something, so.
Speaking about that, are you adding bathrooms or anything?
No, it's going to be one, maybe
Speaking about noise, is this going to be mainly, are we gonna have some big guys like grunting all day, or is it for like,
It's going to be, I almost compare it to like a physical therapy type.
Okay.
What kind of gyms do you go to?
We don't want any more friends.
No loud rock music.
Yeah, no, I mean, not that would necessarily make a difference. I just want-
Well, let me just ask one more time, are there any questions of the applicant before we get a motion on the table? Then we can actually discuss the substance of what's being proposed. All right, then I'll ask to get a motion.
I will make this motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan application for a change of use at 300 Village Walk, map 39, lot 38, for Joint Effort LLC to change from retail to exercise facility, as shown on an application dated September 26th, 2013. This application is approved with no conditions. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Here a second. Okay, let me just point out to the commission that I'm going to also just ask for a waiver of a professionally prepared site plan, which I think because there's no external or interior changes is probably going to be appropriate, but just to make sure we have that. So discussion on the motion itself for the change of use. Yes, we read the letter into the record, which indicated there's not a problem with the septic. Any?
We did that?
I'm sorry to wait.
Did we read that letter or not?
Yeah, no, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's compatible with the septic system facilities.
Okay, well, I might have missed it.
Just not to waste too much more of the applicant's time, but in some alternate universe were we to refuse this, it's already as of right.
So it'd have to be on, he could refuse it if he's moving a wall and he's putting it into the setback or something like that.
It would have to be in violation, with a site plan, our job is to ensure that it conforms to the zoning regulations. We have less discretion than with a special permit. So as long as there is no zoning violations here and it conforms to the zoning code, we pretty much have to allow it. Where we do have some discretion may be to limit hours of operation or something if there's an impact, but the zoning regulations allow us to take that into account.
Like it could be parking, for instance, if it were a discrete building and they only had 5 spaces, and when it was a restaurant, it required this many, and when it's retail, it requires that many, then you'd have grounds to turn it down if they didn't have adequate parking or something.
So
in this particular instance, you've got plenty of parking, and your use, there's no exterior changes.
I don't see how, I don't see how, even if we were to want to refuse this for some reason, how we could.
You'd have to make a finding that it didn't conform to the zoning regulations in
Yeah.
some way. The only thing you could really say would be, you know, this use is not permitted. We probably would have told them that before they made the application,
Right.
so
Okay.
unlikely.
Okay.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
No,
Thanks for your
no,
patience.
it's good to allow everyone to have a thorough understanding of how the commission works.
Our discretion is just so limited.
All right, well, I guess what I'll do then is, since it is very limited, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? And let me just...
I think I'll oppose it.
All right, just on principle. All right, and then let me just ask for a motion to waive the site plan.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Again, no changes,
No
so...
exterior changes.
All right, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few receives. Do the CAM site plans first. Brian Walls and Karen Ray, it looks like 724 Mulberry Point Road, a special permit and a CAM site plan for the additional lot coverage for a deck in the R2 zone and a deck within 100 feet of the critical coastal resource. If we could receive and set a public hearing for November 6th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Shannon Clarkson, another CAM site plan to replace a storm drain pipe and a retaining wall within 100 feet of the critical coastal resource. Receive and set a public hearing for November 6th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to sidewalk these guys?
I think we probably do need to,
Actually, the Clark one, you could just see from the street.
yeah.
Which one's, where's 116 River?
That's right next to the park
Right next to it.
on River.
Right next to meaning north of, south of?
On the same side of the street.
South of it.
toward the market.
South of
She overlooks the marsh.
it. What about the Mulberry Point Road one?
We probably should schedule a site walk on that one, I think.
You can, when do you
Yeah.
want to walk it?
Pick a Saturday, and we will, this is on for the 6th, so I would say, if not, obviously not this weekend, it's too soon, but perhaps the following weekend or the weekend after that would be...
Next weekend, no, the weekend after, I think, is Columbus Day weekend.
Yeah, that's Columbus Day weekend.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Don't want to do it then.
Last weekend in October.
Why don't we do it the last weekend in October so everybody has notice and can plan? We'll meet in the parking lot at 8 in the morning
On a Saturday?
on a Saturday, and we'll go from there.
That's the 19th.
Okay, so that would be,
No, hold on.
Uh,
The 19th is, the Columbus Day weekend, I think, is
next weekend.
12th, 13th, 14th?
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to do it October 26th?
Yes.
That's the last
Okay.
Saturday in
Yes.
October?
Sure.
Which will,
At 8 o'clock, you said?
I would suggest 8 in the morning, probably works best for, in the past, that's been a good time, since it doesn't kill the whole day. Okay.
Columbus Day?
Is it Columbus Day?
No, it's not.
No. Columbus is a weekend.
Well, I mean, I think to the 26th to be closer to the application anyway, so it's probably just as, doesn't make a difference. But let's do it then, since it gives people time to plan. Special permits campaign in Kestner, 131 Boston Street. This is a special permit for an office and an accessory structure over 750 square feet. Received set a public hearing for November 6th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, South Cove Hills LLC, a special permit for a garage addition on a lot under 10,000 square feet. Set a public hearing and receive it set a public hearing date of 11/6.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think under other, we had a little bit of business we wanted to discuss about the Route 1 West
Yeah,
Committee.
the Route 1 West Committee, we realized we have, although 5 of 6 of our committee members are residents of the town, 0 out of 6 of our committee members are currently residents of the actual area. We had interest from a few residents. We had a couple show up at our last meeting from Katy Lane, and they were Mark White of 1 Katy Lane and Steve Mordecai of 5 Katy Lane. And I would ask the chair to add these two as members of the...
These folks are
Route 1
willing,
West
to the best of your knowledge, to participate as full-time members on this?
They are.
Okay, well then, the chair will appoint Mark White and Steve Mordecai to be on the Route 1 West Study Committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Okay, moving along, we have Shore Publishing, oh, nothing there. Okay, approval of the minutes, 9/18/13, I believe those were distributed.
We didn't spend any money?
We're not being asked to approve anything. Good. Pardon me?
You did, we just don't know what amount it is, we're working with minutes.
Okay, well, what we'll do is,
There is a
the
bill
next
pay.
meeting, we'll get that approved then. Okay, the meeting minutes, those went out, didn't they, for 9/18? And I believe they were in the email that went out this past week, so has everyone reviewed those, or? No,
I have not.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we forego that? If we can include them in the package for the next meeting of this, which would be what, the 16th, something like that, right? And we'll take it up at that time. Okay, having no further business, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.